Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial with me, Clarice. In this video, we are going to be painting this cute little shortbread cookie. Really quickly, the supplies I'm using are all listed in the description below. Here's what I'm using today. I will be using or painting him on 100% cotton etcher postcards. For colors, I'm using my Mei Liang set of 48. Which I had swatched for you guys last week, and I'm super excited to be using them today. And then for brushes, I'm just going to be using two brushes, my Princeton Velvetouch round number 4, and then the Princeton Neptune round number 6. All right, before we actually begin, or before you continue watching this video, I was going to say hit the play button. It's already playing though. You need to quickly do a sketch of this cutie on there, and then join me as we go ahead and paint him. I forgot to mention that we will also use a Posca marker, the white marker, or you have the option of going in and doing a little bit of masking fluid painting before we actually start to work on him. So those are your two options. I use the marker on here, and I'm quite pleased with the results. This is the area that I left completely white, so you can see a stark difference between the two, but still I don't quite mind it. If you prefer to try both, you can do this twice. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to start off by painting the cookie parts of our cutie. And for that, I'm going to be using the following colors. We'll be using a mixture of the yellow sienna, which is right there, and then sienna for the darker areas. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna in areas where we really want things to stand out, or perhaps maybe it's best left for the shadow, because there will be a shadow. That's what's gonna really make it pop. Okay, so I'm gonna get some of my yellow sienna and just mix it onto my palette. Got a lot of water on my palette here already. And then I'm just going to take some of the other paint, which is the sienna. So we've got yellow sienna and then sienna. Okay, so I'm going to start off with getting some of my yellow sienna and painting our cute guy. Now it helps to have a little bit of white space in here and there if you want that nice loose look for your watercolor. In my trial, I didn't have that, but I'm definitely going to have some areas of white over here. And let's do this one here. Now his hand is up because he's sort of holding something. You can feel free to just leave his hand up, or like I had done a mistletoe. You could do a snowflake, maybe he's catching snowflakes from up. I'll leave that up to you guys. Use your creative judgment and make this your own by sort of adding what you feel he is doing with his hand up. All right, so I've done the two hands. I'm going to do the legs or the feet. And then once we're done the feet, let's just finish the face, and then we can touch up by adding some of the sienna on here to get some nice darker values happening in our painting. Now I don't mind painting in the little curly hair, or even the the eyes because they're all going to be a lot darker, while the curly hair, except the mouth, I'm going to leave the mouth untouched. The curly hair is going to be done in the white marker anyways, or you guys might be using gouache, or you guys might be doing the whole, what's it called? Masking fluid bit. Now, another way you could have done this is if you wet the whole area first with just water using your brush, and then go in with the color to have that nice seamless bloom happening. All right, so almost finished painting him. Fabulous, done. Now let's take some of our sienna, mix more of that on here, and let's go and add some of this towards the edges, like where the hands are touching, or not touching, but like next to the clothing that he's got on. So I'm just going to dab this color there, just allow it to sort of seep in a little bit here. This one's a little bit dried, so what I'm going to do is put that color in and then just take my number 6 and I'm just going to lightly dampen that area so it can give me a little bit of a bloom. Adding some more. Let's do some around. I'm going to turn it around the neck. And just like I did with the bottom foot, where I sort of went in and activated it using water on my brush. So we got that nice cookie feel to him. All right, now the edge over here is where we've got some shadow. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit more of the color and just add like a darker edge here. Just making sure all my other edges are good too before we move on to doing the next part of this guy, which is going to be the red. So for the reds, I'm going to be using a mixture of scarlet, or magenta is also really nice. Yeah, no, I'm going to use scarlet and team that up with madder red, because it's a nice darker red, and that's what we're going to do. This time I'm going to dampen the area first, then go in with my number 4 and lay down scarlet first. Yeah. So here we go. Just dampen the whole area. You can do this in portions because obviously it might dry off really quickly by the time you like go in to paint. So I'm just going to do little portions of this before we go in and add the color. So here's me going in with my scarlet. I love this red. It is gorgeous. Beautiful. And then if you want to, you could quickly add some of the darker hues using our madder red to the edges, but I am going to continue painting the whole thing before I do that. It's a choice really, because I feel like everyone's got a different preference. Like, do you want to get that in right away, or would you rather just wait? I'm not opposed to either or. It's just today I'm loving how this is looking, and I want to just get my fill in of painting this. Something so relaxing and utterly therapeutic of just watching the colors seep in. Fabulous. Going back in with this brush, making sure I'm not painting on that edge here, which is where the shadow is going to be. Another shadow for the cookie, the base cookie. Okay. Okay, so now we go in and add the darker hue. So I'm going to use my number 6, dampen these outer areas, like where it connects to the hand, down below, by the neck, and then we're going in with our madder red. So I'm just going to get some madder red ready on my brush really quickly. I'm using the number 4 for that. So here we go. Let's take some water and just lightly brush along. Then go in with your 4. And notice I am holding my brush at a slant-ish. This helps me cover up more space with paint. And then I'm going back in with the second brush I have, and I'm painting, or spreading the paint rather. And you can see the nice darks and lights. Oops, sorry. Just making sure I got nice dampness happening here. And then going in and adding our madder red. It's going to take some time getting used to saying madder red, because I'm always using Madder Lake red from our White Nights. Okay, so I know I did some here. I don't want to dampen areas over and over again too much. Adding some here at the bottom. Getting more color. And then around this area as well, just a little bit. You can actually do the opposite of what we're doing as well, which is just go in with color first and then take your brush and smoothen it out. That also works. So let's just finish it up real quick. And we are almost done. I just want to take away this, make this area darker. And we're good. It can be a little obsessive, your desire to just continue painting the reds over and over again. I'm just going in with one more layer of the red to really highlight these bits. So we've got 3 different sort of hues of red happening. All right, and now we move on to doing our outer areas for the cookie. So let's just wash off most of this. And for that area, I think it makes sense to do it just a very washed out version of the young, what was it? Yellow sienna. And just very, very light. So I'm using this brush here and just lightly going across. You could even use yellow ochre if you really wanted to stand out. What I'm doing is adding these touches of the sienna, but I'm also kind of leaving white space in between the actual cookie and then this area here. And then there's a little bit that kind of goes upward. Okay, and so now we're going to go back in with our darker sienna and just highlight the areas while everything else is drying. So we're just going to get some of that on here. And so the first area I want to do is make sure your hand is not going over the areas that's damp. Right here. And then right over here. Again, feel free to take your second brush and just making sure that there's not too much water on there, just lightly spreading around. For a smooth finish. Same thing on this side, and side also has it over there. Smoothing things out for a nice smooth finish. Perfecting our edges, and then let's just do one more bit here. Okay, and then finally it's the face as well that we have to do. So let's just cover that up first with some water. And then I'm going in and just taking that brush to just smoothen things out and just make sure there's an equal covering all over. You got a nice gradual sort of baked cookie face. So feel free to use this time to sort of just go in and out and just add your highlights and such wherever you feel is necessary. Give him some good color. And I like how this is looking so far. I'll just add a little bit of and now once this is done, we can go in and we are going to do our we're going to do our shadow for the back of the cookie, really. And so for that, like I mentioned, we use some of our sienna. Really depends on how dark or how much detail you want to add to this, that you can actually add several layers to kind of really intensify the detail in this. Okay, so now we're doing the background shadow. So using my number 6, again, I am going to start off with this area here, and I'm going to dampen this area, making sure the amount of water we have isn't too much, like it's not pooling, because we just need the area to be damp. And the reason being is when we go in with color, we want to make sure that the color is going to seep out and give us a nice flare up. So I'm kind of going around this, pushing the color, making sure it's nice and damp, and then kind of doing this to kind of bring the water outward. Then going in with my number 4, I'm just going to make some of that. Might even need to go darker if this is too close. Yeah, it's a little bit too close to, so we'll go a tad darker. So we're going to go with Van Dyke Brown. So you can see how it is flaring out just as we kind of, you know, do our little streaks around this area here. That's exactly what we want. And what I'm going to do is take my number 6, right, making sure that there's not a lot of water. I'm going to do this. We want to make sure that it is blending. And I'm sweeping off some excess color because I don't want it to be too dark. And I'm like pushing the color around. Perfect. So here we go, just adding a little bit more to these areas here. Okay. And then it's all about smoothing. Smoothing the areas. So here's where the next shadow is going to be, like around this leg. This is the part where it's like really easy to get in darker areas if you really want to highlight. So because it's damp, right? So just use this time to sort of allow the dampness to blend in. Now this dried up quick, so again, you take your brush and just smoothen it out. There's a lot of smoothing out. Perfect. So now we're just going to do this part, the part of the top part, the head. And then we are going to call it quits with the shadow bit. As you see it like blending out, if you feel like it's doing too much of a blend, just take your brush and swipe it off. So I'm doing a little bit here. And then just taking my brush and going for a nice clean All right, so now we're done with this shadow bit. Just gonna make sure it's nice and spread out. We don't have too much of a flare. So feel free to just take your brush and swatch off color. You're taking color off. Just making sure we have a nice blend. Okay, so there we go. So we've got this. Oh, I'm just gonna do one more little line. Great. So we've got that, and now we can move on to doing the mouth. And then by then everything else should be dry and we can use our Posca marker and finish things off. Okay, so for the mouth, I'm going to use the color that they called Flash Red. It's this glittery pink, which is right there. That is what we're using. All right, so now that we've done the mouth, I'm going to wait for the rest to dry. I think most of it is dry, and then we go in with the marker and we finish. I forgot the eyes. We got to do the eyes. So for the eyes, I am doing Van Dyke Brown again. And we're just painting them in. Feel free to leave a little bit of white space. Well, it'll be a light brown space at this point. There's one eye. And there's a second. So cute. Okay, and so now at this point, if you wanted to add any of these elements around there, like the leaves and whatnot, all I literally did was just get some of my olive green. So while this is drying, we can just do that. And all I did was just add a couple of dabs of color. And literally all I'm doing is just adding dabs. You may choose to leave this space to do something else. That's entirely your call, meaning maybe you want to do some lettering or something like that. I'll leave that up to you guys. But I really liked the combination of adding these cute little leafy pattern things around. And then going in with, actually, hold on. I'm gonna do one more. That's a lot, right? And then going in with the, you can either choose to go with the colors you've already used. I'm going to use a little bit of violet red. And I'm just adding the same way that I did the leaves, except instead of extending to get a leafy look, I'm just adding more of a dot, but like an organic dot, if that makes any sense. So I've done some of that purple mauve. I'm going to get some of the red. I think this is magenta, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just adding it in the areas where I've added some of this purple. And that's it for this. While we're waiting for things to dry, one more thing that is really cute to do is getting some of your Van Dyke brown on the number 4 and just adding a little bit of a splatter around this area here. And then mixing it up with some of the sienna. So if you want a very fine splatter, you need very little water on your brush. So I've got 2 different variations of splatter. I've got the slightly bigger splatter, and then I have the smaller splatter. I just want a good enough variety of different splatters before we call it quits. Okay, perfect. That's great. Okay, so now we can go in with our Posca markers and finish off. So the pattern for him is pretty straightforward. I just realized, guys, that I didn't leave this area white. Whoops. So what I'm going to do is start off by painting this white. Could have used a gouache to also do this. Gouache might be a better bet because now it's looking pink. Okay, so cheated my way, made it white. Then we're doing the zigzag here. Okay, there's one. And then I'm going to turn my sheet over a little bit because there are areas that are still a little bit damp here. Do my little zigzag over here on the arm. I'm going to turn it yet again to access this arm. And then finally this way. Okay, and then we've got the legs. And so here we go. Just make sure your splatter is dried up. Same thing over here. Oops, a little bit of a crooked line, but that's okay. Usually cute little things like this, they don't have too much detail. It's fine. Okay, so when they're not perfect, it's fine. That's what I meant to say, not too much detail. Okay, so now we've got that. We need the white for the cheeks. Well, this looks very, very close to the actual color. And then we've got the hair. And at this point, if you want to just make sure your marker is not very pink, I just kind of took a sheet and Pointed it on there, and here we go. We are doing the hair. And I'll also do a dot in the eyes. And just making this brighter, a brighter white. And there we are. So I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to leave it at this. But if you wanted to give a little bit of shadow effects to these areas here, the piping on the cookie, that also brings things out. I did it on this guy over here. So if you notice, he's got a little bit of that happening. So take your time, do it if you feel like you want to, and if you feel like you don't want to, that's okay as well. But this is the cookie. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you thought. And please tag me in your work. I would love to see what you do. I am on Instagram and I am on Facebook. Everything is listed below. And again, if you are looking for any of the supplies that I've used in here, that is also listed below. Thanks guys for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Bye.